Board of Supervisors meeting is now called to order. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Fran McCusker for the announcements. Fran?
Well, thanks, JC. Happy New Year. This year, the Board of Supervisors will begin their regular monthly meetings at 6:30 p.m. The Parks and Recreation Department will again host a Martin Luther King clothing drive starting Wednesday, January 15th through Monday, January 20th, 2025. Any usable clothes, shoes, handbags, and accessories that you wish to clear out of your closet can be placed in a standard kitchen trash bag and brought to Cedar Grove Barn for a donation. All proceeds from the collection will support the Colonial Neighborhood Council and Whitemarsh Township Day. And finally, the Township offices will be closed on Monday, January 20th, 2025 to observe Martin Luther King Day. Back to you, JC.
Thank you, Fran. Do I have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from December 12th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
One abstention.
Oh, one abstention.
I was not.
That's right. We're not here. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing for conditional use 06-24 at 601 Washington Street, Conshohocken, to allow Villanova University the use of boathouse and river-oriented recreation in the RDD1 district?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Chair Cole. Tonight we have a conditional use hearing for the application for 601 Washington Street, the Boathouse and River-Oriented Development, the RDD1 District, as you so put. I'm going to go ahead and mark some exhibits for the record. T1 will be a copy of the application with the deed, photograph, and associated documents submitted on November 8th, 2024. T2 will be the proof of publication in the Times Herald, dated December 26, 2024, and January 2nd, 2025. T3 will be the applicant meeting notification letter, dated December 17, 2024. T4 will be the resident meeting notification letter, dated December 17, 2024. T5 will be the posting of notice, dated December 30th, 2024. T6 will be the fire marshal review, dated December 4th, 2024. T7 will be the zoning ordinance compliance review, dated November 22nd, 2024. T8 will be the Whitemarsh Township Planning Commission recommendation motion, recommending approval at the meeting on December 10th, 2024. Mr. Iannozzi, who is the attorney for the applicant, also submitted a series of exhibits, and they will be marked as A1 through 11, which we have here, and you may have some additional ones as well. Just to explain to everybody what a conditional use hearing is. In a conditional use hearing, the Board of Supervisors is sitting in a quasi-judicial status like a zoning hearing board, similar to a special exception that would be heard before a zoning hearing board. So there's some criteria. A use is presumed permitted, but there's criteria that the applicant has to go ahead and meet their burden to go ahead. And then one of the things I have to ask is someone is permitted to have what's called party status. Party status does not mean at the end of this hearing, after there is a presentation and questions by the Board of Supervisors, there's always an opportunity for someone to comment if they like the proposal or not. But party status is if they can prove that they live within basically a mailing radius or a close radius to where the property is, and that they themselves want to call witnesses, cross-examine the applicant's witnesses, or be more directly involved in this proceeding. Is anyone here requesting party status? Okay, seeing that no one is requesting party status, I will turn it over to our zoning officer, Mr. Guttenplan, for a brief explanation.
Thank you. This is a conditional use under section 116-280F2 in the Riverfront Development District, Subdistrict 1. Boathouses and river-related recreation are conditional uses, and that's why we're here this evening. I'm going to turn it over to John Iannozzi in a second. I just want to mention that the Planning Commission reviewed this at their December 10th meeting and made a recommendation for approval of the conditional use. And as you'll see in the subsequent portion of the agenda, this is very interrelated to the land development application that you'll be hearing later on. John?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is John Iannozzi. I'm the attorney for the applicant, Villanova University. We are very excited to be here tonight. The use that we're going to be talking about tonight, the Boathouse, has been operating on the subject property for many years. So essentially what we're doing with this conditional use is formalizing that with the township. So without further ado, I think to expedite this, all the witnesses that would be sworn in, should we call them up and have them sworn in? So Mike, Chris, Carmen.
Is that microphone on?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
You have 4 people? If you don't just raise 5 people, if you don't raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear the testimony you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Okay.
Mr. Iannozzi, will you get their names for me?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you so much.
So my first witness will be Mike Roth. Mike, why don't you come to the microphone? I'll sit over here next to you. Mike, please state your name for the record.
Mike Roth.
Are you a licensed engineer in Pennsylvania?
I am.
Mr. Solicitor, the Zoning Hearing Board previously qualified him as an expert in the field of land development and zoning. At this time, I would respectfully request that he be offered as an expert in those fields.
Does the Board of Supervisors want to question this witness's credentials in any way? Okay, he's next.
I will note for the record, tab 9 in my book is his CV.
Okay.
The applicant is the record owner of the subject property, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you prepare a land development plan for this project?
Yes.
The subject property is 9.03 acres, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the zoning districts for the subject property are the following: heavy industrial district, floodplain conservation overlay district, riparian corridor conservation overlay district, riverfront development overlay district, sub-district 1, is that correct?
That's correct.
And Mike, can you just briefly walk the board through what we're proposing here so they have an understanding?
Sure. So what you see on the screen now is an aerial exhibit of the property. Currently, there is a large existing building on the west side, which is the left side of the sheet. The proposed development proposes to demolish the dark gray shaded portions of the building, and the white roof area will remain and be renovated for the use as Villanova's Boathouse. John, if you want to go to the next sheet, we could show the proposed site plan. Along the top side of the sheet is Washington Street. Along the bottom side of the sheet is the Schuylkill River. Working from the left to the right, there is a small auxiliary boathouse building that is being proposed along the western property line. That is something that Villanova is going to be working with the existing high school teams that row out of this site to potentially use. The larger rectangle to the east of that is the existing building that's going to remain and be retrofitted for the boathouse. North of that building is the proposed parking for the site. There is circulation around the entire building for fire access. And then there's a proposed trail along the southern portion of the site and extends up to the north and ties into Washington Street.
Mike, specifically, we are requesting conditional use approval from section 116-280.F2 of the zoning ordinance to permit the proposed boat club/boathouse in the RDD1 subdistrict of the Riverfront Development Overlay District of the subject property. Is that correct?
Correct.
Are you familiar with section 116-37F of the zoning ordinance, which outlines the procedures and provisions for the grant of conditional use?
Yes.
Is the request of conditional use specifically authorized by the provisions of this chapter?
Yes.
Will the proposed use be compatible with the character of the neighborhood?
Yes.
In fact, isn't the proposed use been occupied on the property for some time now?
Yeah, so the Villanova has been using this site under the same manner for quite some time. Additionally, there is the Heinz Rowing Center, which is the property directly to the east of this site, so it's well within the character of this area.
Will the proposed use be consistent with the policies contained within the Whitemarsh Township Comprehensive Plan and the Whitemarsh Township Open Space Plan?
Yes.
Will the proposed use be subject to the surrounding, will the proposed use subject the surrounding neighborhoods to objectionable noise, light, glare, heat, ventilation, smoke, fumes, vapor, dust, dirt at all?
No, and in fact, they've been using this site for the same manner for many years. No changes are proposed as a result of this development. It's really just sort of cleaning up the site and improving the conditions of it.
And will the design of the proposed development minimize the adverse effects, including visual impacts of the proposed use from adjacent properties?
Yes, there will be vegetation proposed as part of the development, which will help screen the adjacent properties.
Will the proposed use comply with all the regulations of the zoning districts in which it's located and in this chapter, generally including but not limited to all lot, yard, bulk regulations, parking, loading regulations, sign regulations, floodplain regulation, and all other applicable ordinances?
Yes.
In fact, the current use doesn't have a defined parking lot under this proposed project. Is it fair to say that the parking will be much better as it exists today?
Yeah, we're providing paved parking lot with defined spaces where it doesn't exist today.
And will the proposed use unduly burden sanitary sewer, schools, police, fire, park, stormwater management, or other public facilities or services, whether or not provided by the township?
No, we have will-serve letters from the water and the sewer, sanitary sewer provider. We are providing stormwater management that doesn't exist on site today, so that's a benefit. And we're working with the fire department and safety to make sure that they have access and everything they need to feel safe with this site.
You'll see on the screen now, is that a fair representation of what it looks like today?
Yes.
And is this a fair representation of what we're proposing?
Yes.
In your professional opinion, is that a substantial upgrade to the community?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have for this witness.
Any board questions? Any board questions?
Okay. Thank you, Mike. I have one more witness, the traffic engineer.
Thank you.
Frank, why don't you come forward and state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Frank Tavani, Tavani.
Frank, you're a licensed engineer in Pennsylvania.
I am.
Mr. Solicitor, he has been previously qualified. I know you're well versed in his qualifications. His CV is tab 10 in our book. At this time, I respectfully request and offer him as an expert in the field of traffic engineering.
Board have any questions of this potential expert witness? No? He's qualified.
Frank, did you prepare a traffic study, which is marked tab 7 in our exhibit book for tonight's hearing?
I did.
Can you briefly go over that traffic study for the board's edification?
Certainly. As you heard from the first witness, the site is proposed to be used in substantially the same way as it has been for some time. After consulting with Gilmore and Associates over the last few months, the upshot was, let's conduct some traffic counts at the existing facility just to really get a handle on not only the intensity of the use, but also the timing of the day and even days of the week when the use is at its maximum. So the purpose of the study was really to document that, and what we found and what we already knew is that it is a very lightly used facility. In fact, there are many hours of the day and days of the week where there's virtually no activity whatsoever, and that will only continue in the future. As we also heard from the first witness, one of the benefits of the application is the formalization of off-street parking, which does not really exist presently. As the board is probably also aware, the site is going to reduce in size in terms of its building square footage. And there will be other facilities that will be introduced that don't exist today, such as pedestrian paths, sidewalks, things of that ilk.
Frank, in your professional opinion, does the proposed use have any harmful effects on local vehicle or pedestrian traffic?
Yeah, my opinion is it does not.
At this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions you have for this witness.
Anybody have any questions? No questions.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you kindly.
So with that, that's our presentation. We have representatives from Villanova if you have any operational questions. We have an architect if you have any questions about the proposed building. If not, what's unique about this conditional use, like I said before, is this use has been happening on this subject property for many years, and it's just a formalization. We're very excited that we get to stay in such a unique community and provide access to not only for our rowing team, but other high schools as well. And I think it's a win-win. And if I would be remiss if I don't say it's been an absolute pleasure working with your township staff. They made a good plan better. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for this project.
Thank you. Are there any board questions?
Just one question.
Yeah.
To
Go
what
ahead.
extent would it increase activity at that site as you're like potentially hosting other schools?
That's what's unique about this project. The answer is it's going to be the same. There's no regattas. It's just really practices. They may have some joint practices, but it's a known commodity. It's been there, and we're not proposing anything new. We're just really, I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it's really just making a situation prettier. This is a state-of-the-art building, and what exists there now is, quite frankly, not up to Whitemarsh Township standards or Villanova standards. Villanova had to wait till they bought the property in order to have the ability to do what was right for not only Villanova, but for the community. And that happened in 2002, 2023.
It certainly looks like an upgrade from what's there now.
Yeah, thank you. So with that,
Sean,
No? See if there's any public comment?
I was going to ask, is this the time to do that?
Yes.
Is there any
a
public
hand
comment?
raised.
You need to stand up and identify yourself.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tom Dahl, Fairway Road. I just have one question. They mentioned high schools being able to utilize the facility. Would Plymouth Whitemarsh High School be one of those high schools where they could potentially establish a rowing club and use the facility to, do sculling or whatever they do down there?
that's a fair question. Right now, the facility is, we have an extending agreement with Harrington and Radnor High School, and that's where we're going to limit, at the sole discretion of Villanova University. We don't want this to become a hub for multiple high schools to use it. So at this time, nothing new. It's the same, and right now, it's only those two high schools that will be using the property.
What time of the day do you typically use the facility?
That's a question that I think would be better answered by the athletics representative. If you don't mind, I'll have come up and you can kind of paint the picture.
And he's been sworn in, so just identify himself.
Brian Beecham, Senior Associate Athletic Director and Chief Athletics Operating Officer. I am a sport administrator directly with the women's program too. So from a usage standpoint, our women's varsity team, typically weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then 7 to 12 p.m. on Saturdays. Then our men's club program, weekdays from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturdays. So the high school programs are there on the weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
And the two high schools are?
Harrington and Radnor. Yep.
Make sure I have that.
Thank you.
And no plans to add additional high school?
No. Good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Would they consider adding?
Sir, you would have to come up and identify yourself.
Yep.
I mean, would they potentially consider adding Plymouth Whitemarsh? We're the home team here, right? So why not add us? I mean, Harrington and Radnor are not here, right? They're closer to the high school. They're closer to the college.
So this
is our home.
Tom, it's a conditional usage, so that's not even a part of the conditional usage.
So we can't, can't ask.
You can ask, but it's not a requirement that they go ahead and do so. That would, if the Board of Supervisors for some reason turned it down based on that, that would not be upheld. Yeah, exactly.
I just think it would be a nice opportunity for our students, to participate in something like that. It's fun.
And I can't even speak to, they may already have a facility that they use, so, but it's a valid question. That's the answer that we have.
Thank you. Any more comment or questions? All right.
I have one on Zoom.
Great.
Sadell?
Good evening. Sadell Zoe, Parks Ridge Road. I'm a resident. And one or more of the witnesses referenced the pedestrian path as well as off-street parking. So I have two questions regarding those two elements. Can you describe the path? What is the surface? What is the width? Will it be handicap accessible? That's my first question. And second question regarding the parking. I'm a regular Schuylkill River Trail user, and often there is nowhere to park. I live far enough away from the trail that if I were to walk there, I would be exhausted by the time I got there. So oftentimes I will drive and try to find parking in order to access the trail. I'm wondering whether any of the off-street parking will be accessible to the public, will be public parking, basically.
So the off-street parking will just be solely for the Villanova University and the high school students. It's a security issue. We don't, we want to protect our students and make sure they're parking in a safe space.
And the trail? Can you describe the trail?
Yeah, and for the trail, if you can see the screen here along the bottom side of the sheet, there is a 10-foot wide red shale macadam trail, so it's an asphalt trail. Also along the far east side of the property, there's one that runs straight up to Washington Street to make that connection. Also 10-foot wide, also red shale macadam. They will have slopes that are within ADA tolerance.
Okay. And since the public will not be able to use the on-site parking, I'm wondering if there will be public parking along Washington Street. Are you making any improvements to the Washington Street frontage? There was mention of sidewalk. If there is sidewalk along Washington Street, will there be public parking adjacent to the curb?
And one more thing, just for the rec, I'm sorry?
This is conditional.
No, I understand. Just for the record, the witness was referring to the land development plan. Was that exhibit number 2, Mr. Ino?
That is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify for the record. And just to be clear, too, this is the conditional use, not the land development. Of course, the witness may answer if they so choose, but just wanted to clarify that for the board.
We have no objections to answering that question.
So we're proposing to widen Washington Street in accordance with the township requirements. Along with that, we're proposing curb and sidewalk along the frontage. There is no proposed on-street parking. The room does not exist within the right-of-way.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What does not exist along the right-of-way? I couldn't.
There is not space within the right-of-way to have on-street parking in addition to the drive lanes.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your responses.
You're welcome.
Any further public?
Nothing else online.
All right.
So unless the board wanted to continue the hearing for more information, I would suggest you close the public hearing.
All right. Do I have a motion
So moved.
to
Second.
close the hearing?
Good.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm going to go down to motions. Do I have a motion to approve conditional use 06-24, approving renovations to and erection of a boathouse, along with use of river-oriented recreational activities in the RDD1 River Development Overlay District at 601 Washington Street, Conshohocken?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I was just curious, Chair Toll, you have the resolution on the land development as well. I know it's a little further down on the agenda.
Yep.
Perhaps we could take that up now and see if the engineer or anyone else wanted to comment, and then the applicant leave.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
So do you want me to just go ahead and do that motion?
That's what I would suggest if the board so chooses.
I would just simply add that we are in receipt of all the review letters. The majority of those items are will comply. We are asking for waivers. We were in front of the Planning Commission. They recommended granting those waivers. We had a positive experience with the shade tree, and we reviewed the proposed resolutions, and we have no objections to that resolution.
And maybe if you can ask Ms. Heinrich if she had any objections to the waivers or Mr. Dutton.
If you could summarize what those waivers are and then your position on
That would be great,
To run
Krista.
down the list.
Sure. Yeah, please.
Thank you.
I have a waiver from 10521BA1 and 10522A, and that is to allow the plan scale to be 1 inch equals 40 feet instead of 1 inch equals 30 feet. 10521B1N, that's the one that we normally see about.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you speak up a little
sure.
more? I'm sorry. Thank you.
How about now?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay. 10521B1N to show features within 500 feet of the site, and they would be providing an aerial photo to show those features instead of actual survey. A waiver to allow Washington Street to have a cartway width of 30 feet instead of 36 feet, and that's from 10530A. Another from 10530A. This is the requirements for curb, sidewalk, cartway width, and right-of-way. They are providing 56 feet is required, but they can only deal with the half of the street that their frontage is on. So they're providing the half width of 28 feet. They just can't widen the property on the other side. So cartway width must be labeled. Curbing is not being provided along the entire frontage. It's just in front of where they're building their building. When they know what they're doing in the future, they would provide it at that time. But since they don't know, they don't want to have to rip it out later when they do come back. 10536B, access to parking areas shall be 200 feet apart. They are proposing 145 feet apart. 10546, to not provide the curbs. 10547K3, requires the riverfront access points to be no more than 500 feet apart. Their site is greater than 500 feet apart. 500 feet width, they're providing one access, so technically it's greater than 500 feet. To not plant street trees within the tree planting zone, which is that 5-foot width between the curb and sidewalk. That's 10548E. 10552B2 is to not require buffers to have a minimum width of 50 feet. 10574 is another about curbs. 55-4B6C, that's related to replacement trees, and I believe the Shade Tree Commission recommended the granting of that waiver. That was last night or Monday, that meeting. 5828D1, relief from the requirement to allow edges of slopes to be less than 5 feet from property lines. They're grading close up on the one side to put that perimeter trail in. And then 5834B7D, from the requirements that stormwater piping be 18-inch RCP, reinforced concrete, to allow 12-inch high-density polyethylene pipe. And the previous one that I just listed from 5828D11 should actually be from 58, oh wait, they had requested it from IB4K of Resolution 2004-8, and the correct request should be from 5828D11. And those are the waivers.
That's my understanding of them.
The Planning Commission recommended the waivers. The only concern was that the one for the reduced buffer in a couple of areas, they requested that the applicant discuss that with the adjacent property owner who would be affected by that.
And I can represent tonight that we did reach out to them, and we had a very positive conversation with them. Representatives from Villanova University has done that, so that has been satisfied.
Positive conversation, meaning they had no objection.
That is correct.
Okay.
Lawyers speak, right?
Yes. One other question, did the Shade Tree Commission have any conditions to their recommendation for approval?
The Shade Tree Commission met on Tuesday evening of this week, made a recommendation for certain waivers that were requested. Other than that, they approved the plan, and there was a subsequent discussion about heritage trees on the site, and the Township arborist went to the site and checked the heritage trees and checked the plans and came back with a memo that basically said the viable heritage trees are all being preserved, and his only recommendation was there should be some pruning and some mulching to enhance the trees, but no viable heritage tree is being removed.
Okay.
Any other board comment or question? Is there any public comment? Any online, Craig?
Nope. Nothing online.
Okay. Then I'm going to go down to resolutions. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-05, granting SLD 02-24 preliminary final land development plan for Villanova University at 601 Washington Street, Conshohocken, to perform renovations to and erection of boathouse facilities?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, you have to call the roll, right?
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Moy,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Chair Toll.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good luck.
Good luck. I'm going to move on to ordinances, which is right above the resolution. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1047, approving the text amendment to Chapter 10, Historic District, to add specific definitions that will revise the administrative review process in the Township's Historic District?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any comment that goes with this?
I think we'll pass this on to Charlie again.
All right.
Zoning officer.
Thank you. This was an ordinance that the board authorized last month for advertisement. It is an amendment to Section 10-9A, subsection 1 in Chapter 10, which is the Plymouth Meeting Historic District. It is to clarify the allowance of administrative reviews that would not require harbor review nor certificates of appropriateness from this board. The ordinance discusses, or I should say mentions, the ability to have administrative reviews right now, but it provides no guidance. So this ordinance has defined contributing and non-contributing buildings and structures, and minor changes and minor sign amendments for non-contributing buildings, which are ones that don't have any impact on the historic district or contribute or are newer than the majority of buildings in the area. If there is a minor change to one of those buildings, the building inspector can authorize an administrative review, which means it's done completely administratively like any other building permit. HARB has seen a great many non-significant, non-historical improvements in the last few years on newer subdivisions, roofs on 20-year-old buildings, things like that, that really have no impact on the district and spend a lot of HARB's time. So it would be issues like that that would be flagged for administrative review. There is also provision to allow emergency administrative reviews for contributing buildings to get something fixed immediately before a HARB meeting, such as a leaking roof or something like that. In those cases, they would then have to come back to HARB the next month, get a recommendation and come here for a certificate of appropriateness. So that those procedures are spelled out in the ordinance, the definitions of contributing, non-contributing buildings and structures, et cetera. We coordinated this with the State Historic and Museum Commission, the regional representative from this area. She made a few comments. We incorporated those comments into the ordinance that you're considering this evening. Harb did review this a couple of times, and at the November meeting recommended approval of the amendment. And I also want to point out that Plymouth Township has adopted the exact same amendment so that we have consistency, since the district is shared by Plymouth and Whitemarsh Townships. And just for the record, I do want to indicate that this was advertised in the Times Herald on December 30th, 2024, and also provided to the Law Library on December 16th to be available for review by the public during this period.
Thank you, Charlie. It sounds like this is going to streamline things and make things easier for our residents as well.
I do believe that's true.
Any board comment? Or questions? Any public comment? No?
I have one online.
All right, go ahead.
Isabel? Isabel, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm in favor of this amendment with one caveat, and I'm pleased to see that the amendment includes a provision that requires reporting to HARB of the administratively approved work orders. But I hope that those reports are regular and substantive. And Craig, I've written a memo, an email to you that I sent not long ago with some thoughts on what those reports might look like so that they are substantive and that HARB can keep proper tabs on those administrative approvals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Isabel, when did you send that? Today?
That was maybe 5:30, something like that.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, Mr. McNally, please call the roll.
Yes, Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chair Toll?
Yes. Motion carries, or ordinance passes. All right, I'm going to go down to motions. Do I have a motion to approve a hold harmless agreement with owners of Whitemarsh Collision located at 4100 Butler Pike to allow parking in the ultimate right-of-way along Butler Pike?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Charlie, is this you?
Thank you. This is at 4100 Butler Pike, as you indicated. It's to add some parking for Whitemarsh Collision. The plan is up in front of you. Don't ask me why it's not covering the entire screen. It is on my computer. I'm sorry, I can't get it to cover it on the screens. However, the area that we're looking at is in the front of the property along Butler Pike. This shaded area represents 22 new parking spaces that the Collision Center would like to add. They currently share parking with a neighboring property. The neighboring property has recently sold, and they would feel better about having the parking on their own site that they can control. The issue here is that it extends into the ultimate right-of-way, and that's why there's a proposed hold harmless agreement. The public safety, the traffic safety unit, rather, of the police department has reviewed this in detail with me, and because there is 14 feet between the front of the parking space and what's called the fog line on Butler Pike, they don't have a problem with cars exiting and being able to see to the left if anybody's coming. The concern was if there's vehicles parked in these end spaces, if there wasn't adequate distance, it could impede sight distance. The minimum that they look for is to have a 10-foot clearance, and as they indicated, we had the engineer for the property do an analysis, and the determination was that there's 14 feet, and therefore it was adequate and recommended that the hold harmless could be approved. So staff is recommending that.
Thank you, Charlie. Any board comment or questions? Any public comment? Any online, Craig?
Nothing online.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the December 2024 expenditures totaling $1,937,245.59, payroll totaling $739,795.85, and pension plan cost totaling $3,880.28?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now is the time for public comment. Is there any additional public comment? Tom, come on up.
Yes, thank you very much. First off, I want to congratulate you, JC, on moving up to be the chair. And Fran, thank you for your chairmanship. You did a great job, I thought, and you listened to us in the township. You answered our questions. You were very timely. And I can tell you that we appreciate that. And I'm sure, JC, you'll do the same thing.
Thank you.
The second thing I wanted to bring up is last month I have to do a mea culpa. I came up and I mentioned that our tax assessment by the county was different than it was for other townships. And I went back. I was so bothered by it because Kevin said that that was not correct. I went back and I looked it up. And the default page on the Montgomery County website for me was 2023, not 2024. So I was wrong. So I called Kevin on Friday and told him, hey, I'm sorry, but I wanted to get that out in front of you that I made a mistake. So I'm sorry, but it wasn't necessarily my fault because the default was the 2023 versus 2024. So I'm sorry about that. Although the county increase is quite high. If you go back, I think what the county should do is send out a newsletter explaining why the county taxes and the assessments are going up so dramatically. Because if you go back to 2020 through this year's increase, I think it's like a 40% increase over that period of time. They're compounding at like 8% a year. So what are they doing? Right, and it's now double the assessment for the township. So the county really owes an explanation for that. And then on the expenditures that come with the package, there's a lot of expenditures that are in there. I would make a suggestion for the staff to kind of do a little summary of what some of those are. Like there's a big one in there for the recreational equipment. So I'm assuming that's Miles Park, right? The Miles Park recreational equipment that was just done. That was for $478,000, almost $480,000. And then there's Ambrosio Construction for $436,000. Like, what's that for? So the township, so people in the township know what some of these major expenditures are, because your top 10 expenditures represented 71% of the total of the expenses, excluding payroll. So I would suggest something like that should be done, just to kind of give some explanation so people know what's going to, and to take credit for the things that you're doing. All of these things have been approved through the budgetary process. So you're not trying to hide anything. These are just the actual expenses now that are coming through to be paid. But I think some kind of explanation would be helpful, I think, for people.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any board comment? All right, before we adjourn, I wanted to announce that the board had an executive session on Monday, January 6th on personnel matters. The board had an executive session earlier tonight on real estate matters. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and good night, Whitemarsh.
Go Penn State.
Yes.